And now a guest, Jonathan Mayo from MLB Pipeline, kind enough to join us. New Jersey born, but living in Pittsburgh for many years now. And Jonathan, we appreciate you joining us here. You mentioned it's a different feel even for opening day, yes?
It is. It's been almost a quarter century since I've been here. Can I call myself a Pittsburgher, or am I not allowed?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's. We were talking about the fact that the home opener is always exciting, and it's early in the year, and hope springs eternal and all of that. But I think even before the news of Konnor Griffin getting called up, there's a different feel about this team, a little more excitement. And then add that with the announcement that Griffin is making his debut today, and I think that buzz has kind of multiplied expenentially.
Did it catch you by surprise that they called him up this quickly, and now the impending deal that we are awaiting on?
A little bit, just because I thought maybe they'd let him settle in and kind of get his feet under him a little bit more. But then the more I thought about it, I actually think they played this perfectly. I also thought that you needed to have a guy on the opening day roster to get the PPI pick. I didn't realize that it could be within 2 weeks. So it makes even more sense, not only for that reason, and I think they learned their lesson from Paul Skeens, but also because he needed to take a breath and reset after the spring he had and the struggles he had. And this is what he's done in a very brief pro career, but he makes adjustments all the time. Donnie Kelly was just talking about the fact that he didn't go down and sulk. He wasn't mad. I'm sure he was mad he didn't make the team, but he gave himself the day and then kind of got back to work. And I think what they saw in those 5 days made them feel comfortable with doing this. And then that deal, they couldn't sign him today because then they'd lose the PPI pick. So that's also smart. I think they only need to wait a week or whatever it is. And there's some details I think they need to iron out. But I just feel all the stars align just logistically, what was best for the kid, what's best for the team. All of the stars align for it to make sense for today.
Griffin's a true 5-tool guy, but Jonathan, what is the best tool in his tool bag?
The sixth one, the baseball IQ. I mean, in talking to so many people about him, the combination that gets brought up over and over again without me prodding for it is athleticism plus aptitude. We've all seen really smart players who outplay their tools and they make it to the big leagues. And we've certainly seen plenty of guys with unbelievable tools like he has, but they don't know how to use them. He has both of those and the work ethic to put in the work when he needs to sort of grind it out. But, I mean, if I had to pick one, it's probably his speed. If you're just pure tool-wise, the raw power is ridiculous. The arm is at least a 70. He was 95, 96 off the mound in high school, right? So it's just it's hard to pick just one, but I think his ability to use them. And one of the things that's so great about him because of those tools and how smart he is that even if he's not swinging the bat that well, he's going to find ways to help this team win games.
Jonathan Mayo from MLB Pipeline joining us. We got a list of upcoming ticket drops from the night before featuring Jason Aldean with John Morgan and Shane Profit at Rivers Casino on April 22nd. April 2nd, 6 to 7 p.m., Sensi's Pizzeria and Bar, 3005 Fairport Lane, Cranberry, 16066. April 6th from 5 to 6 p.m., King's Jewelry, 20215 Route 19, number 201, Cranberry Township, PA, 16066. April 7th from 5 to 6 p.m., Lowry's Western Shop, 935 Henderson Avenue, Washington, PA 15301, and April 8th from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., AAA in Wexford, 10628 Perry Highway, Unit 12, Wexford, PA 15090. Jonathan, if you could fill in the blank here, Konnor Griffin is the best position player prospect you've seen since?
Wow. It's been a while. I mean, I could be really Pittsburgh-centric and say since Andrew McCutchen. He's the best position prospect they've had, I think, in terms of what he can bring to the table. Obviously, O'Neal Cruz and some of the things he's able to do are ridiculous, and he's not quite fulfilled the potential consistently. Bryce Harper.
Wow.
I didn't say he was better than Bryce Harper, but you put me on the spot now. I'm sure I'm forgetting people.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
I feel like there's going to be some other prospects who are like, what about this guy? But that's who popped in my head.
Is there any chance, like Keith Law's a guy that I've been quoting today. He said on his podcast, this could be Willie Mays at shortstop. Have people gone too far, or is that impossible when you're analyzing this kid?
I think Willie Mays was a shortstop actually once upon a time. It was not good, yeah. But that's neither here nor there. I'd like for him to play a game, maybe before. Ask me tomorrow.
Couple at bats.
If he goes 5 for 5 today, then I'm willing to. I understand what Keith is trying to say, and listen, Keith is not one who is leans towards hyperbole usually, right?
Right.
He can do everything exceedingly well. He is mature beyond his years. You would never know that he was 19, both from a physicality standpoint. I spent time with him last year during the year, and he was already a ridiculous athletic specimen. And then I saw him this spring. I'm like, my goodness. And just the way he carries himself, it's just different. And that's why I think he's going to be fine with this moment. He knows what it feels like to maybe grip the bat a little too tightly, because he did it this spring, and he's never done that before. And sending him down gave him the opportunity to remind himself. He plays, I talked to a scout about him, he plays with his hair on fire. And you don't often see that from a guy with that much talent. So Donnie Kelly was talking about a spring training game when he scored from second on an infield ball, right? So he's going to do a lot of those things. And the tools are exceedingly loud across the board. The hit tool is the question mark, and we still put a 60 on it, which is plus because of the adjustments he made last year. So, I don't know that I'm going to do that, because that's a little. I think it's unfair to Konnor Griffin. But if you told me that when we look back and he's got a statue out here, yeah, I believe it.
Jonathan, you brought up how he carries himself, the mentality that he has, and I want to ask, when you get to know these guys a little bit, how much does that play into sort of how you see them working out in the major leagues, like more so than just the raw tools that are off the charts? When you think of how the dude, I think we compared him to some guy that was like, Joe said he carries himself like he's a 35-year-old man.
He does.
How much does that play a factor into how you see a prospect working out?
I mean, I think there are probably examples on either side where you watch a guy and you're like, that guy's a knucklehead, and then you're watching him get enshrined in Cooperstown, right? So it happens because guys are just talented. I think what it does is it minimizes the risk. And especially when you're considering locking them up for 9 years. And yes, that in all likelihood is going to be a very team-friendly contract. But that's 9 years and more money than this franchise has given out. His baseball IQ and the way he carries himself, you know that he is going to continue to work on his game. He's going to help the team win even if things aren't going well. He's not going to let something snowball into something that he can't work out of. So I think the combination of those things makes you feel much more confident that even if he's not Willie Mays at shortstop, that he is going to be a very, very good major leaguer for a very long time.
Does that include being a 20 to 25 home run guy consistently at short, right around 100 RBIs?
You're being light on the power.
30
He's going to fall into 20 homers this year, even if he doesn't hit. You saw what he did in spring, right? He's going to recognize enough bad breaking balls that he'll hit out, even if he's scuffling a little bit. And I don't think he's going to scuffle. So I think 20 homers is light. If you told me that at the end of his career he's 35 to 40, absolutely. It's the bat speed, the exit velocities, the launch angle, all the metrics line up. Do not put a ceiling on Konnor Griffin.
Jonathan Mayo joining us from MLB Pipeline. You mentioned the de facto first-round pick right outside the first round. If Konnor Griffin is a finalist, I think, for Rookie of the Year or MVP. So we asked earlier in the show, Rookie of the Year, NL Rookie of the Year. Is he going to win it? What's the competition like? What do you make of that race?
I think you saw a pretty good candidate in Sal Stewart in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Because he's just going to hit. There are some good choices. You got a guy who's pitching every fifth day here, in Bubba Chandler, who I think might have something to say about it. So I don't want to predict. I think he'd probably be in the conversation. The good thing is that, like Bobby Witt, he could finish in top 3 in MVP next year. or even I think the year after, and they still would get that pick the following year. So there's some runway here. So even if he doesn't get hardware as Rookie of the Year this year, they can cash in on that pick, over the next couple. Only once. Once you do it, then you're done. So, he's going to have a 2020 season, so I think that puts him in the conversation.
Konnor himself has made comparisons to Bobby Witt. Do you think he's a better player than that? Do you think he's selling himself short?
Have you watched Bobby Witt play? I mean, if you compare yourself to Bobby Witt, you're not selling yourself short. I mean, Bobby Witt's really, really good. I think that I don't like comps in general, but I think the 5 tools, the way he goes about it, and just the joy and passion that people haven't yet gotten to see in Pittsburgh yet with Konnor are going to be very similar. He's going to be the first guy out of the dugout. He's going to be the first guy back in. He's not going to be outworked. That's what makes Bobby Witt such a special player, along with the tools. So that's why I like that comp, even though I shy away from them. There are a lot of similarities just in terms of the hyper-athletic physical specimen, shouldn't be able to do the things he does at shortstop kind of guy. Even along with, there were people who weren't 100% sure that Bobby Witt could play shortstop. The metrics his rookie year were not good, and so he got to work and he turned himself into the best shortstop in the American League. So that's what you're going to see from Konnor Griffin on a daily basis.
Griffin and J.J. Weatherholt, I think, Jonathan, are going to be tied together for a long time. Same draft, separated by just a couple of picks. Weatherholt from Pittsburgh, Griffin playing in Pittsburgh in the same division.
Fair.
Who will end up being the better player?
Boy, I hope the Weatherholts aren't listening to this. I'm gonna say
they're probably in St. Louis right now watching them play.
J.J. Weatherholt, I think, can win some batting titles. He is the kind of guy you want on a team that's going to win World Series. He's going to be the face of that franchise. Konnor Griffin's ceiling is higher. I think the power potential is higher. He's just more gifted athletically. J.J. Weatherholt runs well, and he's a smart player. He's not going to play shortstop. Could he? Yeah, he'd be all right, but he's more of a second baseman. So I'll give Konnor Griffin the edge, even though I do think J.J. Weatherholt might end up with a few World Series rings on his finger.
Jonathan, I'll leave you with this one. Is there a chance with Skeens, Griffin, and Seth Hernandez that the Pirates have taken the best player in the last each of the last 3 drafts?
100%. It's absolutely possible. Seth Hernandez was the Konnor Griffin of that draft, just because a lot of teams won't contemplate a high school right-hander that high. But he was legitimately in the conversation at 1-1. Now, I don't know that the Nationals ever were going to really take him. And then when Mike Rizzo got fired, he was the only one with the intestinal fortitude to maybe be the first team to take a high school right-hander #1. But he is exceedingly talented, and he was the best pitcher on the board. And we said along, both with Konnor and with Seth, that we may look back and say this is the best player in the draft. With Konnor, there were questions about the hit tool coming out that needed to be answered, and he's clearly answered them, at least to this point. Seth Hernandez, the combination of stuff and feel for pitching, is ridiculous. If you watch the spring breakout game, you didn't even get a good sense because he was so amped up, his command was off. But imagine that stuff and being able to put it where you want. That's what he can. That's what he can do. He was supposed to pitch yesterday. I guess they got banged because of rain, but he'll get after it. The fact that they send him to Bradenton straight out, that's not something the Pirates do. Even with Konnor Griffin, that's not something the Pirates do. So I think they're taking these players and understanding that these are the kind of generational players that you let dictate where to send them. And Seth Hernandez won't end the year in Bradenton. That is my hot take. Not very hot.
Does it feel like a changing of the guard, or at least a whole changing of their mentality? Because it's been Bob Nutting as the owner. It's been Ben Cherington here since the COVID year. But it just feels like a little changing of the guard in how they do business.
I think that you can make the mistake of putting too much of here's our draft philosophy. And there's all the data and the metrics and ways to do things that they take into account. But you have to take each class and what it's given to you. And they play let's manipulate the bonus pool based on what's there up top because there wasn't that guy that screamed at them that they had to take them. Did Konnor Griffin's early success help embolden them to take Seth Hernandez? Maybe a little bit. It's a little apples to oranges because they're so different in terms of the kind of players they are. But I do think that it depends on the class. And looking ahead to this year, where they picked fifth, I haven't really dug into the draft too much. I would imagine that given the same opportunity, they'll make the same decision. It also helps when you have the large pool of talent starting to amass at the upper levels that they have now. You might be able to feel more comfortable in taking that risk in a guy that might develop more slowly. Then when you take that guy and he gets to the big leagues at age 19, you feel even better about it.
Jonathan, we appreciate you taking all this time. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll enjoy the game, as we all will today, almost no matter what happens. The fact that Konnor Griffin is in the lineup, he's batting seventh. It's a gigantic party here. People gathering around the show right now. Thanks again, Jonathan.